You are at the entrance to a large, dark cave. There are echoes of water drops from the ceiling. You're a little scared. Maybe you even wet yourself a bit. But looking at the tunnel before you, you can tell that they were man-made. The rocks stacked up like walls carved deep into the remains of the Iron Age settlements in modern-day Scotland. They are too dark to measure though. Moreover, there are no signs of who made them and how. Thankfully, the latest technological advancements make it possible to measure these underground tunnels. With more recent articles describing the use of lasers in the measuring of these mysterious so-called Scottish Iron Age tunnels, we'll be able to explore these perplexing ancient creations to see what clues we can uncover about their meaning and the people who made them long, long ago. There's been a bit of a buzz on the internet this past year in regards to the mysterious, dark, unexplored tunnels that can be found in various locations across Scotland. Recent research dictates that there are over 500 of these tunnels that fit this description within the region. The only thing is, nobody knows why they are there, who made them, and how they were made. Much like the pyramids of old, they are a marvel to observe and just as puzzling in regards to the mysterious process in which they were built. This especially takes into account that these kinds of tunnels date all the way back to the Iron Age, around 1200 to 550 BC, when tools were simpler and the labor to accomplish the construction must have taken a lot of human ingenuity. Sadly, over time, these passageways became filled with rubble and are difficult to enter into, making exploring them a difficult task that archaeologists and other researchers have to work around. But in more recent history, French explorers have named these spaces Souterrains, meaning underground passageways. One such example of these structures is the Souterrains in Borgies Forest, Scotland. Starting with what appears to be a hole in the ground, surrounded by a number of large stones and an overturned capstone, a small crawl space can be discerned within. This leads to a narrow entrance that forms the beginning of the tunnel that curves down for more than 14 meters underground. The stones are layered in order, almost like brick, descending gradually into what appears to be an end chamber that is slightly wider than the rest of the tunnel. This tunnel is all but one of the hundreds that are said to be found throughout the northwestern parts of Scotland. Most of them have been eroded over time, so finding one that is still intact and able to be studied is rare. Interestingly enough, these stone structures are often located near raths or ring forts in Ireland, with thousands of them being found there. Raths have a history with the medieval time period. Around the time of the 5th century AD, Christian settlers brought tools and other practices from the Roman world that allowed for greater agricultural development. These developments led to greater populations of people and more advances in the way people lived. The ring forts are circular fortresses that are often raised up like man-made hills and were used to house settlements and small farmsteads, providing a layer of defense from invaders. Some of the suturans associated with these fortresses, such as Binder's Cove Souterrain, were built later on, around the 9th century AD. From that time on, the suturans became more prevalent instead of the ring forts. Some were built into ring forts while others were built separately. It's because of their connection with ring forts that some people have gone on to say that these suturans were used as an additional layer of defense in the case of invasions, especially at a time when Viking raids were prevalent. Yet there are no clear indications of this being their reason for construction, especially due to the fact that some were not only constructed long before Viking raids were prevalent in the region, but also way before the Romans even invaded the island. In fact, scientists have gone on to add their own opinions as they continue to study the Souterrains. In the case of the Souterrain, a team of archaeologists have uncovered a method of using lasers to measure and scan tunnels like those found in Scotland. Since this tunnel was estimated to have been built during the Iron Age, the crew wanted to exercise caution when investigating these locations. The team was brought in by Forestry and Land Scotland, a government agency that is responsible for managing national forests, like the ones that the Souterrain is located in. Traditionally, cavers used tools called theodolites to measure out these tight spaces and to map them. However, the usage of laser scanners has become a more popular and preferred method, as they can now render clear images even in the dark. Placed on a tripod, the laser scanner used in the mapping of the Krakny Souterrain could send out lasers 10,000 times a second once initiated. The crew simply waited as several visuals and data were recorded through the device. As far as the future goes, the team discussed plans to print the model created to display it in a museum or be used in educational panels. Based on the initial observations, the researchers wondered if these Iron Age structures were used for storage, to preserve pots filled with food stuffed away from the changing temperature above ground. Other ideas were the possibility that these tunnels were used like safes for personal items, securing hostages, performing ceremonial rites, or for safety away from dangers on the surface. In all of these manners, the Souterrains in Scotland seem similar to those found in Ireland. However, interestingly enough, the Souterrains in Ireland became more prevalent in the medieval age, centuries later, when they were used as cellars, shrines, and escapes for settlers from Viking raids. That begs the question as to whether or not the Souterrains from the medieval age were inspired by those that came before. Or is it that the practice of making these tunnels independently evolved at a later period, at a time when they were needed once more? More importantly, who made these tunnels and how did they accomplish these feats, creating hundreds of independent tunnel systems with relatively no sophisticated tools whatsoever? Only remnants of these Souterrains remain, and over time, as days, months, and years pass, the slabs may break, the stones may crack, and Souterrains may crumble, as if they were never there. There is still a lot to be discovered about the Iron Age Souterrains and their medieval counterparts, but a quick capture from a laser can help in preserving a piece of the past. This new edge in the field of archaeology can give new context for discoveries made in the 1800s and 1900s, allowing us to learn more and place them within the greater context of history. One thing is for sure though, Scotland's cultural heritage is more accessible through these laser scanners, and one day the data retrieved from the Krakny Souterrain may help archaeologists discover more clues to what these southern terrains are and what they were used for. On that note, we hope that through our channel you can find out more about other archaeological sites across the world that also deserve the spotlight. If you ever want to see a 3D tour of the Krakny Souterrain taken from the expeditions we discussed earlier, then you can find videos on YouTube or the Forestry and Land Scotland website. And if you want to learn about other archaeological and cultural sites that we have covered in the past, subscribe to our channel and click on our previous videos. Feel free to also comment down below if there is a site or artifact that we haven't explored yet that you want us to research next. What can we uncover next? Find out in our next video, only on Amateur Archaeology.